Let me just share. I hope you can all see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Can you? Hello.
Yes,
sorry.
we can see your screen.
So I think there's a problem. I don't know if it's on my side, but I have a bit of, I'm getting a bit of feedback from you, and I can't hear you clearly. So I hope I can be heard. So just anyone kindly confirm that I am clear.
Hi, Danvik, I can hear you.
Okay, that's great. So so setting up to work with Flutter is not that hard. From my experience, the slightly technical bit, which I wouldn't say is hard, is working with basically setting up the Android side. Normally, my environment for developing with Flutter is usually Unix or Linux, something similar. But today I'm setting up in Windows so that we can, I know most of us are using Windows PCs. So that's what we'll be using today, just for the setup. Then next week, then I'll get to the environment that I'm used to. So first of all, for you to start Flutter, you need to know where you can find Flutter on the web. So the first thing you look at is flutter.dev. So this is where everything Flutter resides. And since Flutter is open source, you can go through the documentation and go through all the API documentation of Flutter itself, so that in case you need to deploy, to make any changes, you need to understand how Flutter works. And if you want to do so, you can just go through, since it's open source, you can come to this site, go to the documentation and look for, just basically see how the framework works internally now that it's open source, which is great. So today what you're doing is just getting started. So getting started will involve basically just setting up. So the first thing you need to do is basically, depending on which operating system you're working on, you will go to, so I went to docs, then I went to getting started, which can be accessed from either the side or here. There's a small widget that can help us do that. So if you are on Windows, you will just click on the Windows side, Mac or Linux, depending on which one you are running. So it will just depend. There's a few dependencies that you may need to set up if you're doing Linux, but for Linux, it's a bit easy because you're just running commands. So we are going to use Windows. So the first thing we do is we download the zip itself. The zip will contain Flutter, all the CLI tools, the framework itself, and so on. So after downloading this, basically for Windows, you just come to this button, click it to download, then download it. So for the sake of time, I'm not sure how fast my internet is going to be. I tested when I was starting, and I saw it was a bit slower compared to maybe yours or something. So I just downloaded this ahead of time. So I'll just go to my downloads and look for where this zip of mine was downloaded to. I'll copy the folder named Flutter, which contains everything to do with Flutter. So I'll just copy it. And then number 2, I just come and set up in, it's preferred that you set up in your root directory if you're using Windows. So just come and you can copy it from the recommendation on the site is that you copy it in something like source and then Flutter, or you copy to basically you can just copy it directly on your C drive from the other computer, basically from the other user. So here we now need to copy our Flutter path to. So I'll just remove what I already had. Let me just delete. So basically the bin directory. I'll just run Flutter Doctor. So in case I run something like Flutter Doctor and it doesn't run, or basically, yeah, sure. So if I run Flutter Doctor and it doesn't run, or it tells me Flutter is an unknown command, basically you just need to make sure that you have set up correctly. Make sure that it's Flutter, then the bin directory, as we said, because that's the bin directory is where the binaries for Flutter are contained. So if you run Flutter Doctor, it will first of all download the latest version of Flutter. So this I think we can wait for this to complete. So in the meantime, we will also need to download and install an editor, which we'll be using to do from our next session. We'll be using to develop the apps that we're going to develop with Flutter. So Flutter has you can use so many IDEs with Flutter because it supports most of the most commonly used IDEs, and not just IDEs, but also something like Visual Studio Code, which is called an editor, just a normal editor. You don't have to set up like an IDE like Android Studio or IntelliJ or anything. You can just use any common code editor. Like, let's say, for example, you have Emacs, you have VS Code, you have which other one? Sublime Text, Node++, or any other that you may want to install to use. So after our Flutter app is set up, we're going to be using Visual Studio Code. We are going to set up Visual Studio Code so that we can use it in later classes. So you can just click the link, go to the Visual Studio Code. We're just the next thing we're doing is we're just setting up Visual Studio Code. So I hope my screen can be seen. So I'll just click next, and then we can. What's good about VS Code is that it can set up the environment path for you, and there's also other options that you can include to make your work easier. Like, for example, create a desktop icon for easy access. So next, we'll just So what we've done is that we've just set up Flutter, the environment, and the next thing we've done is we've set up Visual Studio Code. So I was explaining even if you're not a fan of Visual Studio Code and you have any other editor that you prefer to use, most of them will have a plugin store where you can be able to download any plugins that you need and basically set up. So for Visual Studio Code, you can just be able to search from here. So basically, we'll just need something like Flutter. So after finding it, we just click install. So it's installing.
Hi, Danvik. I think you're on mute.
Hello.
Now we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I don't know what's up. But basically what we've done is that we've installed Flutter and that based in our Visual Studio Code instance. So basically we can do development with Flutter and that. So we can clear that. Just make sure that we have Flutter in our installed Flutter and that in our installed apps. Then what I was running here is we're just checking that now VS Code can be able. You can basically use VS Code to run Flutter. So it has a check mark against it. So that means that we'll be able to develop with it. The next stage we'll need to do is install Android environment, set up Java JDK. Since Android is Java based, we need to set up Java. So as you can see here, the Android toolchain is not set up. No Java JDK found. We have basically there's an environment variable that we need to set up, and that's also what we'll do is that we will just go and download Java. I don't know how we do this, but it seems as if when I try to download something, that's when I lose connection. So let's just try. That should be copied. Let's go. I wanted to set up in a new environment so that we can all go through the process, but it seems my downloads are affecting the presentation. So whichever platform running, that is the binary that you'll need to download for Java. So basically we are just downloading the Java SDK or Java JDK, sorry. So JDK is the Java Development Kit, which is Java environment for development. So I don't know how fast this will go, or if I have a copy locally. So basically what we need to do is just download it. I hope this will not affect our presentation. So while setting up Flutter, most of these things you'll just be able to, in case there's anything wrong, you'll just find it in by running Flutter Doctor, which will basically just check the status of everything that you're running, and in case of anything, you'll be advised from there. So I hope this won't take long. So in the meantime, we can go back to our Flutter.
We lost your audio.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Sorry for that. Apparently, when I log in, it takes a bit of time for me to be able to unmute myself. When I click the button, it just remains in that state. So sorry about that. So we've downloaded the Java JDK, which we'll just click next and install. I hope you can all see my screen.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, that's great. So the next thing we're going to do is install Java. Next. This process is only needed for Android because Android is the one that uses Java. So again, we'll just go to our Flutter Doctor and confirm that Java is installed. So no JDK found, which means that we need to basically confirm where it was installed. Java, yeah. Let me just confirm via, let's just confirm the installation path. So our installation path is here, so we can just go to that path. I think that's what I missed. So let's go back. Program files. Again, we need to set this up in our environment variables. So Java, JDK. I think that usually the logical path you go to is the bin directory where binaries are contained. So we just copy that, come back to our environment variable settings, and add it to the path. So we'll just add a new one, then paste. Yes, that's what we want to paste. Okay. Again, since the command prompt you are running may not detect the version, again, we may need to just close it and rerun and check and open a new version, which will start with the new environment variable setup. So again, Flutter Doctor. So we don't have the problem about the Java development kit anymore. So the next thing we are going to do is set up Android. I wish I had downloaded this earlier because it seems like when I start downloading, that's when we start having issues with connection. So let me just check if I have a local copy. So it seems we'll just have to try to finish the download for the Visual Studio ID. Let me just check if you can download the Android SDK separately. So the next thing we're going to do is just setting up Android. So we'll need to download the Android SDK or SDK tools. Android Studio. So usually the best option here is to download Visual Studio, sorry, Android Studio. So the best option usually is to download Android Studio, which in turn will come with the Android SDK. Though another option is also just to download the SDK separately. That's also another option. So for us, or the one that I usually recommend is downloading the whole Android Studio plus SDK. So I'll try to download again, see if we are affected by this. The speed will pick up a bit. Again, sorry about that. I should have downloaded this earlier. I hope you can all still hear me. Ivy, kindly confirm that you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so we'll just try to download the Android Studio SDK. I think it's should have downloaded this one. So we'll just be patient and try to see. In case there's anyone with a question, now would be a good time since this download is going on. Is there any? Any question?
I have a question. I have a question, Dan.
Okay.
But mine is concerning Android Studio. So I have Android Studio installed and also the Flutter and Dart plugins installed. But when I run Flutter Doctor, I still get an error on the Flutter plugins and that.
Okay. Is that immediately after installing, or it just doesn't show every time?
Okay, immediately after installing it showed, but after some few days it's had an X for some reason.
I think maybe something changed. Maybe an update to the plugin may have caused that. I think the last time I had such an issue, it was because I had updated the plugin itself. But does it affect your development environment? Basically, are you still able to do? Okay, that's great. So in case there's anything, you can just try to, in case you have a similar problem with Ivy and you can't be able to install or to basically develop in that, you can just uninstall and reinstall the app and the plugin so that you can continue, so that it can be redetected and you can continue developing with it. The previous speeds I was having a bit better. This is, I don't know if we will be able to, I don't know if, for the sake of time, I see we have like only 3 minutes. I don't know if for the sake of time we can be able to do, we can be able to set up Android and Visual Studio, Android Studio later on. because it takes a bit of time, especially setting up the emulators. So I don't know if Ivy will allow me to maybe do this in the next session. And then as we start learning that, so that will be the first, basically Android SDK and emulators be the first topic we'll be covering before we start that language. Is that okay, Ivy?
Okay, I think that's fine.
Yeah, because of time. I think my downloads and the presentation platform are interfering with themselves, so with each other. So I think that's the reason why we've been having a bit of issues, because when I continue downloading, then it stops. Then I stop, the presentation is interfered with. So I think, so that we don't just come out of this with not much information, I think I will ask if there's any question, anything in general about Flutter that anyone would like to know, so that we don't just waste this session.
I was asking if on top of Android Studio and Visual Studio Code, I still need to download JDK, and if so, is there any place it needs to be, like, does it need?
Kindly repeat again. Sorry, I missed some bit. Apart from Android Studio and VS Code.
I think she's asking whether we need to install the JDK if we have Android Studio and Visual Code, and if so, what parts do we need to update?
Okay, so Android, after setting up VS Code and Android Studio, the biggest thing you need to set up is the path to your Android SDK itself, because it will be downloaded to a given folder. So that folder, you also need to add it to your bin directory, because there are some commands that by Android that you'll need to basically be able to run, or Visual Studio will be running in the background for you. So you need to also set up the path for Android Studio for the Android SDK, since if you're going to use Androids, yeah, in case you're going to use Android. In case you're using a Mac, also you will need to set up, and you want to develop for iOS, you can set up, you'll also need to set up Xcode. Xcode is like the visual, I think it's the Android Studio equivalent on Mac OS, which you'll be using to compile iOS apps. So that is also needed in case you are setting up in that environment. You still need to install Flutter SDK. You still need to install the Flutter SDK because we are developing in Flutter. So an SDK is basically a software development kit. So if you want to develop with Flutter, to develop an app with Flutter, you need the SDK. Software development kit just basically is a set of tools and basically some code that will help you develop in that specific on that specific platform. So for us using to use Flutter, we need to install the Flutter SDK. And also, since you're going to use Android for development, we also need to set up the Android SDK. So any platform that you're going to use to develop an SDK may be needed. So I think that answers the question, unless there's any other.
Yeah, the second part of Bresta's question, she's asking what plugin should we add in Android Studio?
So sure. So after installing Android Studio, so basically Android Studio is usually made for development with native Android. But since we want to use Flutter on Android Studio, we'll also need to install and set up that and Android Studio and Flutter plugins. So those are the two plugins, just the same as we did for VS Code.
Okay, thank you. I hope, Recipe, your
Apart from
question is
that,
answered.
yeah. Apart from that, there are other um, there are other editors that you can use. For example, IntelliJ or VS Code, or sorry, I keep mentioning VS Code again. So Sublime Text, Notepad++. You'll just go to the corresponding plugins market or plugin store and just download and install the Flutter and that plugins, and then you'll be good to go. One of the a bit technical issues, as I said, is setting up Android. So I think that's why we need a bit more time to set up Android as compared to the time we have left. Because we need to set up emulators, and it usually like takes a bit of time, and also there's a bit of understanding that is needed there that I may need to explain.
Okay, thank you, Danvik. Anyone else with a question? Okay, I'll assume there are no more questions. So, unless Danvik has anything else to say, I'd love to close the session. End the session.
Okay, the last thing I may want to say is if you have time, kindly just go through the process that we've done. I know 1 hour is a bit little for us to basically do it together. So in case there's anything, just when Ivy will post the recording, you can just go through and basically confirm whatever the process of setting up. And in case of anything, you can also refer to the Flutter documentation. I think that's all from me.
Okay, thank you. I will also work on an article on which will guide you guys in setting up. So once the recording and the articles are done, I'll share the links. So yeah, if you're not in our WhatsApp group, I think I can share the link to our WhatsApp group. Just a minute. So I just shared the link to our WhatsApp group on the chat section. So maybe you guys can join so that you guys can get updates on the next sessions and articles too. So yeah, I think that's it for today. Thank you guys for making time to be here with us this Friday afternoon. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening and see you guys next time for a session. Thank you and bye.
Goodbye.